Before we commence, let us take a few moments to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate One, the One who through many lives in samsara was filling his perfections, creating the causes, so his mind can attain the Buddhahood, can get the qualities of the Buddha and spread it to all sentient beings. So, I would like you all to join with me to chant Namaskara 3 times, and all together with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. What a coincidence, right? Today we're doing our sermon where? In the EDU, right? The Emergency Treatment Unit. So those of you who are online, currently we're having sermon in the ETU in a hospital. We would give you a tour, but it's not the time for that. So welcome to the ETU. Welcome to the hospital. It's amazing to see how much, we all, when people come together, the amount of difference they make. So we have a hospital at the monastery, which is very strange because it's a hospital in a hospital. It's a hospital in a hospital because why? We are all patients. So the monastery hospital is for mental patients. The hospital in the hospital is for physical patients. And so today we're at the emergency treatment unit because we need treatment fast. You see, this hospital is very different. Why? Why is it different? Because throughout our entire life, we've been sick. But we've never known. It's like, if you were born with sickness, simply put, if you were born with a headache, and from the moment you were born to this very moment, you've always had this headache, would you ever see it to be a problem? For example, everyone sees this to be green. Do you see this to be a problem? No. Because from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you close them, from the moment you were born to the moment you pass away, you will always see this as green, and it will never be something that you question. It's not something that we question. You don't wake up one morning thinking, is blue really blue? Because why? Throughout our entire life, we've had this. Throughout our entire life, we've always been thinking that, oh, okay, I am how I am, and it's okay. So through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and etc., many years, we've been living with an illness. But one day we found out. One day a doctor had come to us and asked, "Excuse me, sir, excuse me, madam. I see you have some symptoms." And you're worried. Symptoms, me? No, I'm perfectly fine. I don't have any symptoms. No, you have some symptoms. Don't you really, really want something? Don't you get angry? Don't you really dislike when something that you don't like is given to you? Don't you dislike, or don't you hate when something that you like is taken away from you? Then you ask, are those symptoms? And you go to ask the doctor, "Doctor, how bad is it? Give it to me straight." Unfortunately, you've been diagnosed with samsara. You've been diagnosed with a strange, a common but fatal case of ignorantitis. It's curable. It's curable. However, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. Now, some patients, they hear this and they think, "Oh, yes, I have ignorantitis, and they have ignorantitis. Is it now a problem if everyone has it? Is it a problem if everyone has ignorantitis? Is it now a problem?" And some people will think, no. If I get angry, if he gets angry, if she gets angry, we all get angry, what is the problem with anger? If I like chocolate, they like chocolate, she likes chocolate, he likes chocolate, then what is wrong with chocolate? What is wrong with liking chocolate? See, they come up and they think, well, it's not an issue. If I've lived X amount of years with ignorantitis and I have not died yet, is there an issue with it? Is there an issue with it? And those who think like that will come to the hospital every now and then. Will come to the hospital and they will enter, look around the hospital thinking, it's a hospital, isn't it? And then they'll leave. They will leave without taking any sort of medicine. There are some patients that are faithful, which means they may not know they have ignorantitis. However, out of great faith, they'll go to the doctor and listen to the doctor. While they listen to the doctor, they'll take the medicine. So, they may not be in the emergency treatment unit, but they will come. They will come and listen, and the doctor will say, okay, you've been prescribed 3 types of antibiotics. Take them 3 times a day. No, every 8 hours. Take them every 8 hours. We take antibiotics 8 hours or 6 hours? 8 hours? 6, 8? For argument's sake, we'll say 6 hours. So at 12, 6, 12, and 6. All right? So every 6 hours. And you'll also be given a separate pill whenever you feel the symptoms rise. take it whenever you need it, and they give it. The patient takes them, and they leave and they take. They're a good sort of patient, because we all know you have to take antibiotics properly. If we don't take antibiotics, we have antibiotic resistant bacteria and viruses and diseases. We don't want that. So the patient takes it. And every single time they take their medication, they feel what? Ignorantitis decrease. They feel this disease slowly decrease. Now, they first thought anger is not an issue. And as anger decreases, they realize anger is an issue. They first didn't think desire to be an issue. But as desire decreases, they realize that desire was an issue. They saw that these aren't, and there wasn't any issues. But as these problems decreased, they realized these were issues. Because if you think about it, when is anger an issue? When is anger an issue? If we were to take a survey and ask hundreds of thousands of people, is anger an issue? They'll say yes. When I'm really angry and I hurt someone, when I'm really angry and I say something about someone, when I'm really angry and I can't relieve my anger, then it's hurtful. Then it's bad. But when something doesn't happen the way, so if this drops and it falls over and I become angry, that's not an issue. It's no problem. That's just a small bit of anger which everyone has. So they think that it's okay. When is desire an issue? For a person who doesn't realize desire to be a symptom, when is desire an issue? Desire is only an issue when you desire something, but you can't have it. If whatever you desire you can have, is desire an issue? No, you can't see it to be a symptom. Right? You really want a pen like this. Like, it's an amazing pen. It's high quality pens, right? Do you really want a pen like this? Now, if you don't get it straight away, and let's say you have to work, these pens are very expensive, you have to work 3 years to get one pen. Now you realize these 3 years I was burning. I don't like desire. But if you had lots and lots of money, now desire is a good thing. The more I desire, the more I buy, and I'm helping the economy. So desire is only an issue if we can't resolve it. So again, at first, some patients will take it by faith. As they take the medicine, do they realize, I have an issue? There'll be some who take it with wisdom. They will realize, okay, I have been wanting this for so long. I have felt this much desire for so long, and I continue to feel desire. When will this end? Yesterday I was angry. The day before I was angry. The day before that I was angry with my child, with my parents, with my siblings, with my spouses, my this, my that, my this. I was always angry. When will this end? There are some patients that I used to be someone like this, who would always ask the doctor, what is this? So for example, if the doctor prescribes some sort of medicine, I'll always ask, what is that? What does it do? To get the ins and outs so I can become a doctor myself? No, because there are some people who want to know what is happening and why they're taking it. So some people go by faith, some people go by their wisdom. Some people will go with the energy that they're going to do this no matter what. They know there's an issue, and so they're not going to stop at all. If the doctor says take this medicine 3 times a day, you have to wake up at 12 midnight, they'll wake up at 11:57 and wait the 3 minutes so they can take the medicine, because they have that much determination. That's not the patient. But there's one thing for certain. If you take this antibiotic course, these three types of antibiotics 3 times a day, or no, every 6 hours, the doctor has guaranteed. The doctors have guaranteed that the symptoms of ignorantitis will decrease. You will no longer feel the symptoms. You will no longer be the same person that you are. If you were to ask doctors, doctor, what is your qualification? Right? How many years have you spent, or how much time have you spent in the medical field? The doctor will say, I'm no doctor. I'm a recovering patient. I'm a recovering patient. I'm a patient who is recovering or has recovered. See, this is a hospital where patients help patients. Where one patient who sees the issue will help another patient see the issue. This is why this hospital is different, because why? We help each other. You see, very rarely do you actually see a group of people. So I was having a chat with some of our devotees, and something that we came across is, it's very rare to see a group of people working towards the same aim. In a school environment, what does every child want to do? What do every child want to do? Push the next person down so they can go one place up. To be first place, there has to be someone second. To be first place in anything, whether it's running, whether it's a sport, whether it's at school, whether anything, there has to be someone pushed to second place. In a workplace environment, everyone is aiming to take the next step on this ladder. By hook or by crook, however they possibly can, they try to get to the next step. And so they work hard, they try to get promoted, etc., and they want to do better than the other person. Every single time they're trying to do one bit better. They're trying to play the best card so they can become better. Very rarely do you see a group of people who, rather than putting themselves up, pushes other people up. Like, the best example I can give is, do you think Guru Hamru wants to stay as Guru Hamru, as the title of Guru Hamru? I remember back when he was newly ordained, one of the first things he wanted was to be ordained last. Guru Hamru wanted to be ordained last as he was new to ordination. He wanted to be ordained last. Why was that? Shouldn't we all want to be first? See, unfortunately, due to the system that we had to place. He had to be ordained first. But if you asked him, Guru Andhra, where would you rather ordain? Like, what place do you want to be in this Sangha order? He would always say, I want to be last. If you ask Guru Andhra always tells us, if anyone wants to take my place on the chair, please be my guest. If anyone wants to be Guru Andhra, please come, take the seat. But you must take responsibility of all the things I do, you must take. See, even Guru Andhra doesn't want to go up. In the monastery, no one wants to go up. We want to push everyone else up. We want to take everyone with us. It's not push you down, me come up. It's more, how can I help others come up? See, in the hospital, because the monastery is actually the ETU, emergency treatment unit. This is why we have, what you can say, a bloody uniform, covered in the crimson color of blood. Why? Because we live in the ETU. Like we live with other people who are in the ETU. Whenever we have an issue, we have a doctor right next to us, and we ask him, "Oh, doctor, I'm currently having this symptom. Give me the medicine." And the doctor will drop everything, go to next door, find the correct medicine, and be like, "Okay, take this pill." Because why? I live in the ETU. I live in the ETU, and you all have arrived at the ETU. We are covered in the uniform. Because this ETU is brutal. We don't let ignorantitis win. Instead, we let the wisdom of the Buddha win. We let the wisdom of the Buddha win all the time. Because what we don't realize is, as time goes on, everything becomes so normal. And this is something that not just myself, but Guru Andhra and Mandasan Andhra and everyone talks about. Is that as time goes on, things become normal. That everything is just, a part of my timetable. So I just have to do it. It's just something that I'm doing. For example, I was talking with one of our monks, and he was telling me what he was like before he came to the monastery. And he said that, for several years, he has been coming to, for 3 years prior for him coming to the monastery, he used to come to the monastery every Saturday with himself, his wife, and his child. And also his brothers and parents will also come with him. For him, coming to the monastery was a trip. He had to wake up in the morning, ready his bags, everyone gets into the car, and he's driving himself all the way to the monastery. For him, it was a trip. And then there was sermons, Guru Andhra's sermon, after Guru Andhra's sermon, they have, the world famous, roti, right? The world famous roti. He has the world famous roti. And then he would go back home. On his way home, he would stop at a kottu place, have a kottu. And then there's a stream that goes by. What's the stream called? Nachimale. There you go. They'll stop at the Nachimale, and this entire family would take a bath late at night, and then drive home, and then continue the next day. As if it was normal. See, yes, this is how it works. As time goes on, we become so habitual to things that we think we realize that this is just something that I'm doing. I'm just coming to the monastery every single day as a Sila Shravika, and I come every so often as a Sila Huvasi, or I just come every so often as a devotee. And it becomes just something that I'm doing. It just becomes a part of my daily timetable, my weekly timetable, my monthly timetable, or just a small part of my life. And we fail to realize how important this is. See, if you're at the hospital and you're taking, or the doctor has prescribed you medicines and your symptoms are not reducing, there has to be something wrong. There must be something wrong. Let's say you have an infection. You have an infection, the doctor has prescribed you some medicine, right? You come home, you've been prescribed this a month ago, and you still have the infection. It's not reduced, instead it's become bigger. Now, what would you do? If you had an infection and after a month it's not reducing, what would you do? Keep taking the medicine? You'll either go back to the hospital and say, or you'll go back to the clinic or back to the practice and say, doctor, I've been taking it for a month, it's not working. Or we say, you know what, this hospital doesn't work, let's go to a different hospital. So that's the thing. If your symptoms are not reducing, we have to ask ourselves, maybe there's something wrong here. Either in the medicine or in the practice, in the actual administering the medicine. Now, I can tell you, the Buddhist Dhamma is not a problem. It's not the issue. Because if it was the issue, well, it can't have helped everyone here. It has to be something that if the Buddhist Dhamma, if that's the issue, that means there should be no one cured. So the problem cannot be with the Buddhist Dhamma. It can't be with the medicine. However, there is this feeling, and it's normal, because why? When játi arises, when we feel the sense of self, we want to be what? Unique. That's why, you'll hear this a lot, and I know this as well. Lots of people would say, you know what, paracetamol doesn't work for me. I've been taking paracetamol, it doesn't work for me. I have to take something stronger. Or, this sort of medication doesn't work for me. I have to, my body's just different. Therefore, I need a stronger dose, or I need a different one. So we have this idea that, I am unique. Like, I remember, I know lots of people who would tell me, I have such a they'll say that, they have such a high pain tolerance. I can resist the pain. They say that until they break a bone and they say, oh no, I can't take pain. Because they feel unique. That's why some people don't accept normal medicine. They need to take something better. They need to take something stronger. But it's not actually about the medicine. The medicine will always be the same if the difference is in their practice. So ask yourself, do I feel the same amount of desire? Do I feel the same amount of aversion? Do I feel the same amount of delusion as I felt 2-3 months back? Do I feel more desire or do I feel less desire? Do I feel more anger? Do I feel less anger? Do I feel more or less? If you are starting to feel more symptoms, go back to the doctor and tell the doctor, doctor, my symptoms are not reducing. Help me find the issue. So doctor will ask, okay, can you explain to me what medications you're taking? And so you'll sit down, right, in front of the doctor and you'll explain to the doctor the medicine that you're taking. What is that? Every week we have the nyaya. You'll sit down in front of the doctor and you'll say, doctor, this is the medication I'm taking, right? You have this, and then you have ignorance, attachment, and you're explaining to the doctor the medication you're taking. The doctor will look at this and think, okay, instead of taking this medicine, let's try something different. Let's take this medicine. And the doctor will say, right, instead of taking, let's increase the dosage here. And then they will improve your understanding. But sometimes this is all correct. Because there's nothing, the only thing they can do is increase dosage. Every Saturday, what does Guru Hamdara do? Every Sunday, at the gateway sermons, what does Nayak Hamdara do? What does Amadasana Hamdara do? If there is something wrong here, he will correct. And we'll start increasing dosage. For example, do you remember when we all started, how did we start? Talking about játi? When we started coming to the hospital, the first thing they talked about was játi, right? The sense of self. No, we first take, the paracetamol syrup for children, for 1 to 3 year olds, and they say, what you give is what you get. And then we realized, okay, the reason why this person is doing this is because I've given this. And you start to take a small dosage of a small dosage, and then what do? They start to increase the intensity. Then we learnt about what? Then we learnt about karma vipaka. Then we start learning about arising and passing away of the mind. Then we started learning about the manifestations and etc., increasing the dosage. However, as the dosage increases, on the other hand, what should also decrease? Our symptoms. So you go to the doctor, you explain to the doctor what sort of medications you're taking. The doctor will either prescribe something different or increase dosages. And then what? The doctor will also ask something. How often are you taking your medication? Now they're not saying this to do anything, but just to ask. So you're supposed to be taking this medicine 6 hours, every 6 hours. How often are you actually taking the medicine? Once a week? So this is not the issue. What is the issue? That you're taking the medication once a week. So instead, let's try, see, your doctors will always give you, they'll give you personalized medicine. If you do it once a week, they won't say do it every single day now. What would they say? Just try taking the medicine, on Mondays and Wednesdays. Just Mondays and Wednesdays. Right? Just take the tablet, right? Just take the tablet on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's enough. Because why? Once you take the medicine, your symptoms will what? Decrease. When the symptoms start to decrease, do the doctors need to remind you to take the medicine? When you have a severe headache, or when you have some sort of extreme pain, does someone need to remind you to take painkillers? Do you need someone to remind you, say, excuse me, madam, you have to take your painkillers now? When you feel extreme pain, see, when you know the problem, you don't need someone to remind you about your medicine. Instead, you know, okay, I'm starting to feel pain. Why am I feeling pain? It's because I need to take my medicine. Oh, yes, I have another 20 minutes. So then they'll increase dose. They'll increase your dose. And they'll say, you know what, try take it now, just 5 minutes every single day. You know, when you walk to, when you commute to work, just take this. Just take this small tablet. And they'll start to increase the amount of time. But there'll be some patients that think, doctor, don't you can't trust me, doctor. I can't take this medicine by myself. I really need help here. And then the doctors will open that door and say, welcome to the ETU, where you'll be given service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So because the patient decides that this disease, ignorantitis, is more it's more dangerous than we could think of, and therefore I need extreme or immediate action ASAP. The doors are open. You see, this is why this is such a coincidence that we're in the ETU today. So a hospital and a hospital. Of course, we're not talking about a real disease here. We're talking about what? We're talking about, please don't think there's an actual disease called ignorantitis. Right? It's the metaphor. Right? Just make sure this is not this is the medicine for the mind. There's no pills, unfortunately. Right? Just imagine Nibbana can be given by a pill. How much easier would it be? All you need to do is someone to pop a pill in your mouth and make you swallow it, and say Nibbana happens. This is why this disease is so much more dangerous than that. So much more dangerous than that. Because if we take it on the macro scale, if we take it on the macro scale, what happens if you don't take this medicine? What are the side effects of not taking the medicine? No, first of all, let's ask for the side effects of drinking the medicine. What is the side effects of drinking this medicine? See, you know how on every medication that you drink, right, they have to provide a piece of paper with the side effects. So they'll say, drinking this you'll become sleepy, right? You know, some people will become stomach aches or X, Y, Z, and you have a list of symptoms. What are the symptoms of drinking this medicine? Lifestyle changes, right? No longer responsive to anger stimulating stimuluses, no longer responsive no longer responsive to addictions, no longer responsive to depression, no longer responsive to stress. And these are horrible symptoms. I mean, side effects, right? You can no longer stress. I mean, we all need to stress, right? Every once in a while. You can no longer stress. You can no longer become mad at your children. Horrible, these things, you know. You can't be mad at your children. The side effects are too much. I think this is the one medicine that the side effects are so positive that even the side effects are good. So if we ask ourselves, what are the macro effects of not taking the medicine? And I think the best way to answer this is by looking at what happens when the mind is put under so much pressure. Now, when the mind is put under so much pressure, our mind will always look for the fastest way out. That's how it works. When the mind is under pressure, it always looks for the fastest way out. You know, just like electricity looks for the shortest route, our mind looks for the shortest route. So when the mind feels lots of pressure, think about the routes our mind has taken when we're put under so much pressure. Let's take an example. Let's take an example that we've all been through, right? Because we've all had this time. Parents have asked their child, so they ask you, your parents have asked you, have you done this? And they point out a mistake that you've done. Out of the fear of being told off, what do children always do? What do? You know, children are angels. They tell you the truth and only everything, but only the truth. We lie. The mind will lie. Okay. What else? What else does the mind do? Or what are the shortest routes out that the mind takes when it's put under lots of pressure? Okay. Do you remember when you were little, and you're at school, and you know that one of your friends had those erasers that have a scent, and you really liked it. You really liked it. What did you do? The thing with stealing, right? It's very interesting. What is stealing? How do you define stealing? Stealing is defined by taking something that doesn't belong to you. So simply picking up something. So, as you're walking down the street and you see some money on the floor, you picking it up and using that money and saying, oh, my lucky penny, and you put it in your pocket. Is that not taking something that doesn't belong to you? Is that not stealing? What else does the mind do out of the shortest route it takes out of this pressure? Or in other words, verbally someone. So this is not screaming and shouting in pain. This is screaming and shouting at a person. So with verbal, we can also have what? With so physical, verbal, and also we have, the other brother. So when the mind is put under so much vexation, well, first of all, it will mentally try to hurt another person. You see this a lot with little children, right? They get really angry, but they know they can't do anything. So what they do, they think and they say, and they're thinking something terrible. And they'll say, you know what, I don't like Amma, I wish she was gone. And then someone pushes them over, and so they push back. Okay, what else does the mind do? It can hurt. Blame. That's part of this is also blame. Cheat. Abuse. Now, if I was to talk to all of you, right? Now we are all on the path, on the journey, and we're going on a path where we are getting rid of our attachments. But if we looked at our past selves, have we not done these things? Have we not done these things? Unfortunately, we have. Because of the lack of the Dhamma, we've done all these. Because we do not understand why things are happening, this is the normal way out. Now, society will say these are all bad. But just because society says these are bad, do we think that, oh, it's okay? We're not going to do it anymore. No, if we can't do these physically, we try to do them verbally. If we can't do it verbally, we do them mentally. Stealing isn't just about taking something here. It can also be thinking about it. Why did that happen to them? Right? How come they get the chance to talk to Guru Hamdar? Why can't I get the chance? That's still stealing, isn't it? In a way, in a certain way, that's also stealing. Because why? You're wishing that they don't get it. You wish that it happens to you. So, if all of these happen due to the mind not understanding, or the mind not taking the medicine, and therefore these are the effects. Now we know, as a fact, that we will always receive what we have given. What you give is what you get. So these will all have to come back. Now, I can't say to who. But all of these will have to come back. All of these will need, because, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. Now, when we talk about this, don't take energy to be a very fixed thing here, right? So, Because when we say, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it feels as though there's something called energy and it changes and changes and changes and changes and comes back to being energy. Don't take it to be like that, right? Energy is not something that's fixed. And energy is something that is constantly in a changing way. It's something that constantly changes, right? So it's not that there's an energy and it changes. Energy itself is change, right? So energy cannot be created or destroyed. So these all have to come back some way or another, which means all of these will have to come back. Now, if I had a jar, and in this jar we had some, say, do you remember in school you learned about probability? Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 is a round number. What are you more likely to take out of this bag, this jar? A blue? There are 10 blues. Or green? There are 5 greens. Which one's more likely? Blue. Because there are more blues than there are greens. So if I was to ask you, well, do you do more? How often? Now, again, we're talking about before you started to understand the Dhamma, right? Because now most of you would say, I rarely do these, right? I do more good than bad. But this is before the Dhamma, right? How often do you do good? How often, how common is it for someone to do good? How often is it for someone to think about another person rather than thinking about themselves? Very rare. So I was thinking about this, right? How common is it for people to give, say, food to like 3,000 people, 2,000, 3,000 people? How common is that? Some people, they've never done that in their life. Like the only time this can happen is if they give a dansala. But in the monastery, almost every single day. So anyway, if we had a jar, and if I asked you to put in all the good things that you've done, and put all the bad, and put the blue being bad and green being good, to put it all in and see which one you take out. Now, of course, there's a chance of you picking out a green one. There's always that chance, right? Out of 15, 5 out of 15. No, there's a third of a chance that you pick out a green, but there's 2/3 of a chance that you pick out the blue. So here's the thing. If that is the case, without the medication of Dhamma, if we rarely do green, and if we do more blue, what are the effects? Now, of course, we're not going to go in and talking about the 4 great hells or whatnot, because of course you know more than I do about these. But if what you give is what you get, see, this is the harsh truth, right? If you have stolen, well, you're a thief, aren't you? If you had lied, then you're a liar. If you hurt someone, well, you're an abuser, cheater, and whatnot. And these will always be a bead in this jar. And what you give is what you get. That's why every saint has a past. Every saint has a past. All of these will take effect one day or another. Now, unfortunately, in our history, this should be more like this. If we put this all into perspective on how much good that we do bad, let's be a bit nice. We'll have one more green one. If we put it all into perspective, this is what it's like. Which is really crazy to think about, because being born a human is meritorious, right? Imagine a sea of blue to pick out one green. How rare do you think that is? You have a massive jar filled with blue beads, and there's one green bead. You put it in, you shake it, and you pick it out. How often do you think you'll pick out this green one? So it's not impossible. You can, but you're more likely to pick up a red. This is the harsh truth. Unfortunately, these don't get erased, because I remember. So growing up, me and my sisters used to have wars at home, and Amma would always be like and saying that these are all your karma and they're going to come back to you. And I'm like, oh, so when I get angry with my sister and I shout at her, will someone shout at me? And Amma's like, yes. And I remember Amma saying, may do this merit and wish for this to be erased. And I was really happy. I thought, what, if I can wish for this to be gone, I would. And I'm going to start fresh. The next day, again, we have a fight, but that's regardless. Unfortunately, these don't disappear. These are always going to be there. That's why even you hear stories of the great arahants who also had, these blue beads take effect. These will not just disappear until that disappears. Then the beads will scatter. But until then, you have a jar, and therefore you will always have to pick one out. Every moment you're picking one out. So, this is the thing. In a macro scale, this is the effect that the lack of the medicine will do. That's why we're so fortunate to be able to be in a time, in a place, in an area where we are trying to get rid of all of this and replace it with what? The medicine. Because we have to understand, why do these all happen? Why does stealing happen? Do you see how the question changed? First of all, it was, why do I steal? Now, why does stealing happen? Because here's the thing, right? It's like this. Until we got to listen to the Dhamma, we only just had one view. Before we listened to the Dhamma, we only had one view. And this view, we didn't even think about. Did anyone think about thinking that, okay, this is fixed? Did anyone think about that? Before listening to Dhamma, did anyone think this has to be fixed? This has to be, this has to be something that gives me happiness. Do we even doubt that? We don't. We used to think that, okay, if I like chocolate, I eat chocolate, I will be happy. We don't doubt that. We don't doubt and think, does chocolate actually make me happy? Because why? We only had one view. And this view was cemented into the grounds of the mind. And because of this, because we have this idea of, technically, we have an idea of something, and when you have something, it has to be placed somewhere. So, for example, if I was to ask, right, what do you think about yeah, if I was to give you an option, let's take a beetle leaf there, and I'll take this. Which one is more valuable? Now you can say, okay, this one, right? Because this is just a leaf. You can pick this from a tree, but this one is heavy and it looks good, better than a beetle leaf and whatnot. And that's because you feel that this, okay, once you have something, you can place it somewhere. So if I asked you, how valuable, or where would you place a sea pen? Where would you place a sea pen? Is it more or less than a leaf? Now, depending on the view that you have of a sea pen, you'll say, oh, it's more valuable, or it's less valuable. But if you realize there's no such thing as a sea pen, now what value do you give it now? If you realize there's no such thing as a sea pen, do you give it value? Can you give it value? No, because once you have this idea, now you give something a certain value, a certain idea. For example, if you liked great example. Normally in other countries, not in Sri Lanka, but in other countries, on the 31st of October, that's Halloween. Yeah? And normally in Halloween, children will dress up as in however they want, and they go around door to door, knocking and asking for trick or treat, right? This is the only time in other countries where you have to forget all the rules that your parents have told you. Normally you tell your child, Puta, don't talk to strangers, don't knock at strangers' doors, and definitely don't accept chocolate or sweets that strangers give you. But on Halloween, you remove all those and you say, yeah, do this. Now, if a child was to have the idea and because of this view they have of something to be so valuable, something to be something, because they have a view that there is something fixed in this world. Now they have, say for example, chocolate. Once they fix the idea of chocolate, now the chocolate gets a value. So for example, I remember after me and my family used to go trick-or-treating, especially my two sisters, and we used to get bags filled with chocolate and sweets. Now, Podinangi was small. And me growing up, I was a very responsible, very trustworthy brother. So there'll be certain chocolates which are very good, and there'll be certain chocolates that aren't so good. So we'll name it for now. We'll say chocolate A is good, and chocolate Y is a bad chocolate. Now, if I had lots of Ys, I'll go to my sister and say, you know, that A chocolate, it isn't really nice. It's actually it's actually bitter. I'll give you one Y for two A's. Because although she has a fixed idea of A and Y, what doesn't she have? She doesn't have the idea of how much value. But so you can change the value that you have of something. Like, for example, if I asked you what's more valuable, water or gold, your view of the value of these will change, but you always see water and gold to be fixed. Because why? You had this one view. So what did I do? I cheated, and so I made her feel that Y was 2 times A. I took A, gave her Y, and she doesn't realize that she was scammed. That's because, and therefore, let's say someone say someone has the idea of something fixed, so they have ignorance. Now, they have this mental pressure that builds up inside of them. As mental pressure builds up, they want to find a way. They want to find a way to relieve it as quick as possible. If this is really, really extremely high, past a certain threshold, the mind won't think twice before doing something to relieve it. For example, stealing. For example, lying. For example, hurting another person. That's not because of the person, but because of this idea, the view that it holds. Because of the view it holds, it now feels this pressure to do. It now feels this pressure that, I want chocolate, now I need chocolate, so how am I going to get chocolate? Stealing. So whose fault is that? You can't give it a fault. It's because of ignorantitis. Now, what the Dhamma does, the Dhamma adds a new view. Now you have two views. Now, at this point, this is where most of us are at. We have two views. So, most of the time, our mind will arise using this view. But every once in a while, one will arise using this view. So, you'll notice this as you're, going about in life. You'll have many times where you have this view that, oh, you know what, I like this, I want this. Every once in a while, you'll think, why? How? Is this really what I think it is? Every once in a while, your mind will arise with the other view, the view of anicca, dukkha, anatta. Now our minds are conflict. Because why? You've given the body one medicine and it has the virus. Now the mind has to, the body has, or the medicine will now fight with each other. The thing is, the more the mind arises using this, the stronger this becomes. However, every once or twice, the mind arises with this. No matter how strong this is, a part of ignorance will disappear. Again and again You see, our mind has to run through this. You have to run, you have to let this run in the mind. So the other day, I was at our Noble Hearts, and it was, if I remember correctly, a Thursday. Now, our Noble Hearts kids, right? So some of them are very little, like 7, 8 years old. So 7 to 12, 13. I opened one of their books, their Dhamma Point books. And most of those children, they come and they listen to Guru Hamru's Saturday sermons and his Thursday sermons he does to our monks and Anagarikas as well. And funnily enough, they have written, on average, 250 points. On average, so they'll come up to me and they're like, that's not. This today, I wrote 200 points. I'm like, 200? Are you sure? I'm like, here, look. And what you realize is, no, this is how great that teachers are. When they write this down, what is going through their heads? Which one? They are writing this. Now, can you write one thing while thinking about something else? See, this is what's special about writing. You cannot write while thinking about something else, because why? You have to see, you have to think, and so while writing, the child has to think about what he or she is writing. So their mind is, whether they like it or not, is going through this. So this has no choice. The view of ignorance has no choice. Ignorant type, the medicine. This is why our teachers are amazing. So having a child sit down in one seat for 2 hours, 3 hours is a miracle. Is an absolute miracle. But yet, their teachers, thanks to their teachers, they sit down, and not only sit down, because anyone can sit down on a seat and stay there for 3 hours, right? You remember when you studied, right, back when you go in school, you fell asleep on chairs, right, while studying? Staying on a seat for 2-3 hours isn't hard, but writing? And every single time the mind goes through this view, the view of ignorance decreases. The more the view of ignorance decreases, the less of those, the macro effects happen. Then you're more likely to have what? This is why we have to ask ourselves, how much of this is reducing? Do I still feel the same amount of desire that I'm still feeling? Do I still feel the same amount of aversion that I'm feeling? Do I still feel the same amount of delusion that I'm feeling? If so, let's go back to the doctor. Let's ask the doctor. Excuse me, doctor, I've been taking this medicine, but in this scenario, it's not working. In that scenario, it's not working. Please help. See, we need to get rid of this. Because remember, this jar is filled to the brim with blue, with 1 or 2 green dots here and there. The other day, I was talking to a parent, right? And so their child isn't someone who is like really, well, who wants to listen to Dhamma, right? And so when the child, she's 13, 14 years old, right? She said, to Amma, she was like, Amma, like, why don't you and me watch a horror film together, right? Now, the mother used to be a horror film addict before she, listened to the Dhamma, and now she doesn't watch it as much, but she was like because her daughter wanted to, she was like, sure. And it was funny because it really talks about this. Because, so she was telling me, this mother was telling me that as she was watching this movie, the main character finds a box, right, at a yard sale, right? And when she gets this box and she tries to open it, but can't open it, she takes screwdrivers and whatnot and open it, and then suddenly she's possessed. And the mother paused the film. It's like, Dua, that's a preta. And this child lives in a different country, right? And so she's like, what's a preta? You see, and she's now explaining that because of this, the old woman had a box that she really liked, and therefore when she passed away, she is now protecting this. So whenever someone opens it, she possesses them as a preta. And now now this mother's explaining to this child about this preta. And the mother was telling me that there was a scene where the ghost possessed goes to the fridge and starts eating. And now this mother's explaining to this child using a horror film about the mindset of a preta. By the end of the film, the child went to Amma, was like, Amma, I don't want to become a preta. I don't want to become a preta. Amma, how can I not become a preta? Because she was told, right? The mother had said, Dua, it's because this old woman liked this box. There are two ways to become preta, either with desire or with aversion. If someone was angry with someone and wants to get revenge, they're born as a preta. Just like that lady, who was eating from the fridge and stuffing herself with raw meat, yeah? That's what they're like. So this child is like, how can I stop? I don't want to become a preta. So of course this mother was saying that, just like your, you are attached to your phone, the woman was attached to the box. You see, when this is there, when we have ignorance, this is what we have. This is what we have. We have a jar filled with blue beads. Close your eyes and pick one out. See what you get. Test your luck. Pick a blue bead. Or pick a green one. You see, as we continue to go through this path, so eventually the mother told the child, the only way I can guarantee you're never going to be born as a preta is if what? How can you guarantee you're not going to be born as a preta? If you what? Become a sotapanna. So the child was like, how do I become a sotapanna? So what did the mother say? There's a series on YouTube, go listen to that. And literally this child, from that day onwards, every single day, and in the beginning at least, out of fear, but after several weeks, months, out of understanding, continue to listen. So again, as we go through, as our mind goes through this starts to decrease. As this starts to decrease, there'll be a moment where what we're trying to do is we're always trying to prove this point. What we're trying to do is let the mind run through this. Because now we have a conflict. Our mind is in constant conflict. Because throughout our infinite journey in samsara, we've been going through ignorance. Our mind has constantly been going through ignorance after ignorance after ignorance, rooted in ignorance. Therefore, this is the easiest outcome. This is the easiest path it takes. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to change that and let the mind run through this. As it runs through this, because why? There are three things you can't keep hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. You can't hide the truth, and therefore ignorance itself when that happens, what happens to the jar? If you had a jar of marbles and you put it upside down and you take the jar off, for a couple of milliseconds, what happens to the marbles? It stays in one place and then disperses. So by getting rid of this, what happens to these marbles? Well, until the body is gone, these vipakas will be drawn. But in the end, they disperse. That's the thing. The medicine is the only way out. Talking about the medicine, it reminds me of, the pill scene in the Matrix. The pill scene in the Matrix. You have the blue and red pill. It's the blue pill that they take, right? It was a red pill, I can't remember. Haven't watched it in a long time. By taking the right pill, the problem is gone. But however, it's a course. Neo took the pill once. We have to take the pill often. Because we have to prove this one. We have to keep proving this one. One time after the other, just keep proving this. That is our journey. That is what the medicine does. We keep proving. And the best thing is, we don't need to look at the outcome. What I mean is, is it wrong to feel the self? Is it wrong? Is it wrong to feel játi? Is it wrong? Is it wrong? No, due to this happens. Is it wrong? So if every time you feel the sense of self, or every time you feel something to be fixed, should you be worried about it? Oh no, I'm feeling the sense of self. Oh no. It's not something that you should be worried about, because you can't change the what? The effect. What can you change? The causes. The thing is, once you understand that, the feeling of játi isn't something that we worry about. Instead, it's something that reminds us, oh, we still have our job to do. Oh, játi is there, okay. What more can I do? How can I keep going? How can I improve? How can I take one more step forward? It's not something that we have to worry about, thinking, oh, everything is, I still see everything to be fixed. I still feel the sense of self. I can't do anything about that. Oh no. That's not what we should be thinking about. What we should be thinking about, it's not the effect, but the causes. How can I get rid of the causes? To get rid of the causes, this is what you need. So apply. Take your antibiotic, your 4 different antibiotics, every 6 hours. Take it for a month and then we'll change it. The doctor says. Take it for a month and then we'll change every week you'll change the dose. And cure what? Ignorantitis. Cure ignorantitis. So welcome to the hospital. How may I help you? What are your symptoms today? That's how it is. In your jar, we have, out of some luck, picked out a green bead. Out of some luck, we've picked out a green bead. Don't let that go to waste. Because the rest, it's all blue. Blue at the top, blue from the middle, and blue under. Out of some luck, we picked out a green one. Take it, use it to the maximum. Because remember, this medicine, it is the most expensive medicines you will ever take. Why is it expensive? You've paid for it using millions of lives. So, use it to the maximum. Okay, I have 2 announcements we have to make before we conclude today. Technically 3. First one is, next week we have katina, right? So, the thing is, I know all of you will come, but for our online viewers, if you are able to, we will be streaming it online as well. Yes, we'll be streaming online on our English and also on our Sinhala channels. So, not for you, for those. For you, it's here, right? And those of our listeners who are around Sri Lanka, right? Please do come. I think katina is one of the most special and the most significant ceremonies. One of the most significant ceremonies in the Buddhist culture. It is one of the most meritorious, at least. For example, I can't remember the numbers, but they say every time the needle penetrates the katina cloth, is that 35 times? My numbers are terrible. As born as a sakradeva. I mean, a robe, one time it penetrates. If I gave you a robe to count how many stitches there are, you'll spend the next 2 years counting. And I think even the stitching, everyone will get a chance to stitch as well. So again, katina is one of the most meritorious, the most meritorious ceremonies that, in the Buddhist culture, right? And yes, so if you can, please do come experience it firsthand. But for online viewers, we will be streaming it on both our Sinhala and English YouTube channels. That's one. Therefore, on Sunday, so this is on the 9th. So the katina ceremony will start 9th at 6:30. It starts on the 9th at around 6 something, and will end the next day, right? So that means next week on the 10th, the gateway ceremony will not be held, right? So it was not going to be held. What does that mean? That's an invitation, an open invitation to come to what? Katina. And as I believe, the English sermon in the morning will still be there. So Saturday 9th morning, we'll have the English sermon. In the afternoon, we have the katina, right? Afternoon all the way to the next morning. And the gateway sermon will not be held on Sunday. Do we have any other notices? Do we have any other notices? Do we have any other notices? Okay. So once again, katina is the one thing that I really do enjoy about the katina is the amount of people that come together to do one thing. I mean, katina ceremony, if you take it in the most basic, fundamental thing, it's an offering of a robe. But the amount of things that we have to do, that we have the opportunity of doing for that, the all-night all-night pirit chanting, and then offering the katina cloth, cutting, sewing, offering it back, the honors. It is something that, honestly, back in my lay life, I have never been able to be in. So I got to experience it first as a monk, which is amazing. But it's something that I know is something that will be in my memory for my entire life. Because it's something that you keep remembering. Every time you do, you say you remember Pirit, the next thing you remember is Katina. And also the New Year's in our monastery, but that aside, Katina. So please do take some time out of your really busy timetables to come and at least spend several hours, 1, 2, 3 hours at the monastery. Right. Okay, then let's take a few moments to transfer our merits and conclude for today. Okay, let's take a few moments to transfer all the merits we've acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listen Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Buddhist teachings, and with immense gratitude, let's chant for the message to Bhikshu Bhikshunis, Upasakas, who since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha, and passes down to a generation of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend Dhamma. There's also taking moment chance to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including all chief priests of chapters, who have dedicated their lives to know the path and commit themselves to betterment to all sentient beings, and not forget among them will be the monks and nuns present in local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side, to thick and thin, come in or shine. There's also taking one chance to Guru Sarananse, as well as other monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas attached to the monastery. So let's take one chance of merits and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, be thereby translated in sermon, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them, may the power merits. If any have been born in the world plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in bliss plane. May by the power merits, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's take a moment to transfer our merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, words, medicines, as well as those who pass on know-how, extend their well wishes. May to the power of the merits, If any of them born in the world plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in this plane. May the parliaments, may they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transform men to our mothers, fathers, husbands and wives, sons, daughters, brothers and sisters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, friends and acquaintances, employees, employees, to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any shape or form. By the power of these merits, if anything born in, may they be healed in physical and mental elements, may they overcome any obstacles in their spiritual progress, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Exalting moment transfer merits to the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as numerous gods and deities who have committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Let's not forget among them will be the Sakadeva. Let's not forget among them will be our garden deities who keep watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of the merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, taking moment transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all that has been friends and family to us in this infinite long journey in samsara. So, taking moment transfer merits to all the members of the armed forces or as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those lost life in the war be the friend of foe. Rejoice in the merits required today. So, taking moment transfer merits to all those lost their life in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, pandemics, reminding ourselves among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in the long journey in samsara. May by the power of the merits, if any have been born in the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in blissful plane. May by the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble footpath, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let's resolve, may through the power and blessing of all the merits required throughout the day, we bear witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arhat Nuances in this blessed land. And finally, may through all the power of all the merits required throughout the day, you and I and everyone who made this program a success become a Arhat Nuance or a Arhat Nuance in this very life in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of Nova Chipotem be with you all. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginen midetva, dvesha ginen midetva, moha ginen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayin sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravetva. Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo. Nibbana parama sukhayin sukhita taravetva. Nibbana parama sukhayin sukhita taravetva. Raga gini niveva, dvesha gini niveva, moha gini niveva. Nivan sapa labeva. Nivan sapa labeva. Nivan sapa labeva. Tununge susyanantam hagunabalim. Siloka sil satyoma. Nibbana paramasakham sukhtaravitta. Sadhu, sadhu.